Hey guys, Dazzler Magic here, and I wanted to make a video on this for quite a while, well, ever since May 14th when it was uploaded. Mark freaking Rosewater, as seen in certain YouTube remixes, wrote an article on, I don't know, MTG, what do they call this thing these days? I don't know, it's not labeled, whatever, their little article hub thing. And it's basically just a Q&A, and this is part one, so allegedly there's a part two. But this is where he takes completely inoffensive, highly filtered questions from their own personal liberal echo chamber and answers them. And it's really just people kissing his butt because they want to be in their little inner circle of approved friends or whatever. Or they just feel special for, ooh, look, he answered my question, ooh. So I've read maybe 1/10 of this article. I just kind of skimmed it, and I doubt it has anything to do with card quality, curling, any of that. But then again, Mark is kind of like, some people at Wizards agree with him, some people don't, and it's kind of like a piecewise thing about what his current opinion is on certain things. How stuff should be designed, certain corporate decisions, he is commonly at odds with the companies. So don't always think Mark Rosewater is just automatically, boom, everything like wrong with Wizards. Not at all. And hey, if I'm going to do disclaimers, my two awesome like YouTube poop style remix videos, which is old school, like OG YouTube, they were not meant to be some kind of shot at Wizards. Believe it or not, I know, because this is me. It was just like, it's a meme thing. It's an art form, and I don't even mean that jokingly. It literally is an art form, like, for real. It's just a dumb form of weird editing that makes a weird comedy thing, and it's not meant to mean anything. It's not meant to have an intention. Like, when people make, like, SpongeBob and King of the Hill remix YouTube poop videos, they're not like, oh, these shows are awful, let's make fun of them. Half the time they like it. They like the shows. That's why they're doing it. It more comes down to, like, these clips are funny and they fit the theme, the end. So I wasn't trying to, like, say anything with the videos. I wasn't even trying to imply that, like, Wizards videos were, like, bad. I mean, they kind of are and they kind of aren't. I think their intent and what they're trying to do in the stylistic choice in PR and marketing is actually really good, really smart. I did think that as a whole the videos were kind of crap, but I think that was the point, though. Like, they were supposed to be kind of geeky and offbeat because that's their customer base, so, you know, whatever. But I wasn't, like, insulting the people in the video or, like, oh, let's make fun of them and edit them to look funny, ha ha ha. Like, no, it's just, I'm going to make a funny video at the end. Like, that was it. So anyway, enough disclaimers, let's jump into this, and I'm not going to read every single question and answer, just the ones that I think are kind of noteworthy or spicy or interesting, so this might be a really short video. I don't know, like I said, I haven't really read these. So anyway, the intro from Mark is, every set I dedicate a column or two to my mailbag to answer whatever questions or unanswered questions exist about the newest set. It's time for me to answer some questions about Dominaria. Here's the tweet I put out. It's time for me to write an article or two where I answer your questions about MTGDOM. So that's their hashtag that they use for Dominaria. Please keep your questions to a single tweet. Thanks, hashtag WOT staff. I don't know why he tags them in everything. I think it's a passive-aggressive thing. Dude, like, for real, though, like, I would totally do that if I worked there. I'd, like, tag him in, like, firearms tweets and stuff. So somebody named Kyle on Twitter, who has Patrick Star as a profile picture, which that is dank as hell, he asked, how did you decide which characters would be in MTGDOM? I'm just going to convert that to Dominaria because I'm sick of it. It's a hashtag, just come on. Now, I'm not going to read the entire, like, explanation because it is interesting. I did actually read this one, but the headers are basically, 1, are they alive? 2, do they live in any of the places we're visiting? Because, you know, that would make sense to go back there. Number 3, are they relevant to the story? Number 4, how popular are they? And number 5, do they fit into the places where we have space? And if I recall, that one was like, we can't just have all blue planeswalkers, basically. And I don't mean Dovin Bond, I mean blue mana. And now we're jumping right into the spicy ones from Topher Hickman. Why is the common symbol nearly indistinguishable from the uncommon? And that was way more true with M25. I think it's pretty easy to notice in Dominaria, to be honest. He didn't write that, I wrote that, by the way. So Mark says, this is the classic case of trying to solve one problem and backing into a new problem. Okay, let me rewrite that for him. We tried to solve it and then nobody checked us on the stupid new solution. When you come up with an idea, you can't just be like, yay, that solves it, boom, implement it. You gotta check it. Just second guess everything you do. This is why they have something called proofs. Like, it's the test print runs. So what it comes down to basically is the dark steel symbol and the Dominaria symbol looked too similar, so they flipped it, because they said when somebody looks at it, they need to know exactly what one set it is from, which, oh my god, like Antiquities, some of the Urza's ones, they had the same one, some of them didn't have any. I think like the Dark and something else had the same symbol, but it was like moved, and absolute nightmare. Complete nightmare. So he's completely correct. No, I mean, Darksteel was too similar to Dominaria. No, it wasn't. First of all, just make it look different. Duh, don't improve it in the first place. Or, secondly, just tell people to get over it, because those were printed nowhere near each other time-wise, and they don't look anything alike. So, basically, Darksteel was black with the white border, so they made Dominaria white with black border. But I think, once again, Dominaria had enough, like white space, I guess, like literally white space, that you could tell it was silver on the uncommon. So he does end by telling us that this is not an ongoing change, it's like a one-off thing, and they don't think they're going to do it again, even though they literally just did it for M25 and it was 100 times worse. And there was also really no reason to do it that way. So skipping a couple here, somebody named that's not Oliver, that Olivier. What? Is that like Olivia, but the male form from like some other country that isn't English? Anyway, Olivier Cadat or Cadot, or I don't know, some dude. Some dude tweeted him, why legendary sorceries but no legendary instants? That's actually a damn good question. Mark says the plan was to always do just one cycle of them. They were made in early set design, obviously, because Legendary was one of the primary things they chose first. And a 6 multicolor one got added later. And they leaned toward wanting to be big, expensive, splashy spells, which tends to be more of a sorcery thing than an instant thing. That makes sense. Instants are lower powered to compensate for the fact that you can cast them whenever you want. And remember, the whole thing about instants is you can cast them during your opponent's end step. By the way, I'm like adding all this. He didn't write this. So if you survived with all your mana intact, boom, free spell basically that you virtually don't have to pay for during your opponent's end step. You just can't have that with legendaries. They're too damn good. So he says the reason they tend to be bigger is not just for splash, but to also increase the chances that you'll have a legendary creature or planeswalker on the battlefield by the time you want to cast it. But see, that I disagree with. If it's a sorcery and you just spent like 4 mana dropping out a legendary, and then it's like some 7 cost legendary spell or whatever, 5 cost whatever, Karmal's could be like 15, you gotta wait an entire turn cycle. So you're less likely to still have it on the battlefield. As an instant, you can do it in response to them blowing up your legendary creature. So of course it's gonna be on the battlefield. He's actually just dead wrong about that. Anyway, also when we do cycles like this, we tend to make them functionally similar, so players are less likely to get confused about how they work. So obviously they want a consistent, they're all sorcery. Okay, got it. To make the cycle more cohesive, 4 and 1 where 4 cards in a cycle work one way and one works differently tend to grate on some players. Or you can just read the damn card. We do it occasionally, but there's only where there's a strong reason. Legendary instants work just fine within the rules, and if legendary sorceries prove popular, it's something we might try one day, perhaps on a return to Dominaria. Oh god, so that won't be for a while. And also, nobody wants another legendary heavy set. I mean, cool, it feeds into Brawl and Commander, but like, whatever. Once they've done like a kind of gimmicky, weird, kind of annoying to build around thing, they don't tend to come back to it. And finally, a tweet from the Planeswalker Project, which that artwork looks familiar. I think it's run by a complete liberal nutjob douchebag, just attack mob asshole, but I'm not 100% sure. It just looks familiar to me. Could be wrong, but he asked, were you and R&D worried at all about Dominaria being a flop like Kamigawa? Oh, that's cold. With the idea to do Legends Matter a second time, which he previously answered a question about how much did Kamigawa's interpretation of Legendary Matters inform the set, and he had a lot to say about that, like what to change, what not to, don't have Legendary be the theme, but have it completely disconnected from all the other mechanics, like have actual synergy and have a point and a reason other than story and flavor, because otherwise it's just a limitation. So I guess to kind of springboard off that, he added this one as well. And he says, not everything in a successful set is good, and not everything in an unsuccessful set is bad. Well, at least they're admitting it. I guess the statute of limitations dropped on the management getting pissed if they take a dump on Kamigawa, or admit that any product is ever anything less than pristine. The trick, as I mentioned above, is figuring out how to take a theme that we know has the potential to be popular. And remember, when Champions of Kamigawa came out, Commander was just in its infancy as a format. and using modern design sensibility to make it work. A big part of that for Dominaria was expanding the theme to include more than just legendary things by using historic, which allowed us to bring in other components to make the theme work. I mean, that's an odd way to put it. I mean, historic includes legendary. It didn't have to. It just did. It seems like a really random thing to make the 3 choices for historic be historic. But I guess they're like, well, we're going to make them legendary because Champions of Kamigawa, ooh, people like that, almost. So let's also make them historic. Well, you're adding something in addition to legendary. That's not really doing anything with legendary. It's a completely separate thing, and historic could have just as easily dropped legendary, made it be something else. But the fact that they took legendary as like a mechanic, a theme, whatever, and shoehorned it into one of the main mechanics, okay, that makes sense, because now it's like, I dropped in a legendary and the and isn't just now I get to keep one because of the legendary rule, which is usually what happens. So I do completely agree with the whole, oh, Champions of Kamigawa, look at all the cool characters, ooh, and I think they almost kind of were going for like an anime thing because it's already Japanese, and people, like, they will cosplay as like their favorite anime characters. So they were probably just like, hey, everybody's legendary, everybody's a character, here's all the storylines, here's all the backgrounds, love them, they're Japanese, look, we're being anime. But then at the end of the day, there was no synergy, the set sucked, the mechanics sucked, the whole block sucked. It was just miserable to draft with. I've been told by people who played the game for like 20 plus years that Kamigawa was the worst drafting set ever made. Your deck was basically reduced to just vanilla crap that had no synergy with each other. It was idiotic, boring, low-powered, and just nothing would happen in the game. It's just swinging at each other with sticks, basically. Boring vanilla sticks. So that's what happens when you take a set and just make it all flavor, all lore, all characters, and then forget to actually make it playable. So I do agree with the fact that they're like, here's what we learned. Actually make legendary a thing. Like, yeah, we got the story, people follow the story, people are way into storylines, like 2 to 3 times as much, people, from what I heard, are into the storyline if it's a plane that they know about, that they heard about, they read about. They're like, oh, we're going back here. Cool. Like even Return to Ravnica, which I believe was the first return set distinctly. I mean, you could say it's Dominaria because more than one set took place in there, but it wasn't like a true return. But yeah, people were like, oh, Ravnica and the guilds and these characters and Jace and the Law Mages. Oh, and I love the Golgari. Just kidding. They suck. Nobody likes them. So people are like amped about it, but still, at the end of the day, it has to be a good set. Does not matter how hyped people get for the lore. They could read the lore and read the storyline and make fan art of their favorite characters and cosplay them at Comic-Con, and then not buy the set and not touch it because it's terrible, nobody wants to play with it, and the mechanics are crap. I mean, I'd almost prefer like a train wreck of a storyline and lore, and then have the mechanics like on point, like have it be like the best design set that's super fun to play. So thankfully they got that and they got it right. Also, they brought in Richard Garfield. I'm sure that did not fail to be a factor in why it's good. And on that likely triple negative, I will bid you adieu. Which is dumb, and that's not how I'm ending it. I'm going to go procrastinate by watching 7 creepy true hotel horror stories by Lazy Masquerade, the greatest horror narrator on all of YouTube. He has more than 500,000 subs. He's amazing. And then I'll get way too into playing Far Cry 5 and probably edit this at 1 a.m. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at 2 a.m.